Hello, hello. It's Payday, and you're listening to the Payday podcast with your host, Samantha Mantra. Hey, y'all. How you doing? You're going to hear my voice go in and out this episode a little bit because it's been going in and out, but we're going to bear with it. Let's talk about thriving. How do you allow yourself to thrive? And this episode goes out to all of my roses currently growing up through the concrete cracks. What does it mean to thrive financially? In our last episode, we talked about defeating a scarcity mindset, what it means to break out of patterns of thoughts as it applies to your money and how you allocate your funds. This episode, I want to talk about what it means to thrive without being a millionaire. Because too often when we talk about positive financial conversations, the answer is way too simplistic. It's like, I must be a millionaire or a billionaire, or I'm going to, marry Rihanna. Something totally unrealistic, something that allows you to say, someday it'll never happen, but it would definitely need to be like $10 million. That's what it is. I want you to be intentional about thinking how your best life can be thought about, dreamed about, and calculated and made progress in. So, what does thriving mean? Thriving is when you take the limiters and the blinders that are self-imposed and you put them down because you don't need them anymore. In the same way we talked about how with scarcity, it's a survival technique, it works and it stops working when you're no longer in a scarcity or survival situation. Thriving is possible once you have some stability under your feet, once you've, say, finished your financial foundation. So step 1, having income. Step 2, understanding your money. Step 3, having a stable foundation. Once those things are done, you can thrive. But my experience thus far has been with a clientele that is in shock once we get to the point, and I'm including myself here, once we get to the point that we have a stable foundation under our feet. Stable foundation means we have retirement humming along in the background of our lives, that our debts are either paid off or being handled strategically every month and they're no longer stressing us out, that our savings have been growing, that we have money to give back to support family, loved ones, or precious causes near and dear to our heart. Our foundation is set, our housing is set, we can afford food, all of our basics are done. And that feeling of relief or exhaustion, wherever you are emotionally, can prevent you from thinking about what now. Because the financial foundation is supposed to be the foundation of your life for what you want to do next. And it's good to be practical. It's good to be practical. It's good to think about, okay, practically I must do this and then I must do that. It's good to list make. But this episode, I want you to dream. What would a thriving life look like for you? If you're the type of person who's really into music, does that mean going to, let's say, 4 music festivals a year, once a quarter? If you're the type of person who's quiet and more introspective, does that mean owning your own property so you could design your space to suit your preferences and your needs? If you are someone who is very into experiences, does that mean getting intentional about which experiences mean the most to you, whether those are international or domestic within the continental US? I'm asking you to dream this episode. What does your best life look like? What does your best life look like when you are consistently getting 8 hours of sleep, when your bills are on auto pay, your savings are on auto pay, your investments are on auto pay? What do you feel will allow you to flourish? Because you deserve to flourish. You deserve to live your life to its full potential. One of the core tenets of all of my financial work, all of my career coaching, is that my clients have to tell themselves the truth about their lives. You have to be honest with yourself about what you want. And what you want is going to be very different than the random how do I get rich finance tips that you'll find on Google or CNBC or whatever your news organization is. What is the truth about your life? What in your life needs to change right now for your life to get better? Feel free to pause me and grab a notebook, because I would love it if you actually answered these questions for yourself and you wrote it down so that you could see it. What needs to change? Just one thing for your life to get better right now. And does it cost money? Yes or no? Don't go any deeper. If it's like your ceiling has cracked paint, so you need to paint your ceiling and it would cost money to get paint for your ceiling, how much would that cost? Would it make your life better because you wouldn't be seeing cracked paint? Simplistic. One thing. What needs to change for your life to get better? Does it cost money? Yes or no? Be honest with yourself. Second thing. Can you categorize the things that you want? Not your family, not your loved ones. If you're a parent, not your kids. You. What do you want? For me, I like earrings. Simple things. But I know I like that separate from other things that I like to provide for people I love. What is the thing that you want? Is it a material thing? Is it an ephemeral thing? Okay, example, and I'll use it both ways. Material thing, I want a car. Ephemeral, I want independence. I don't like waiting on people to pick me up or drop me off. Therefore, I want a car. The thing about wanting things is, even when they are a physical material thing, or when you want a feeling like independence, security, what ends up happening is very frequently they end up being the same things. It's just that you approach it from the other side of the spectrum. So for folks who say they want independence, sometimes that means they get a car. When I ask folks why they want a car, the answer might be independence. It's a spectrum. What do you want? Can you categorize what you want? And can you answer why you want it? Another really important question, when you're just dreaming, defining what the outlines of thriving and a best life might look like for you, do you need others to get what you want? Now, this question is going to trip some of y'all up. For example, if one of your dreams is to one day start a business, guess what? You need other people. There is no successful business that doesn't have other people as a thing it's dependent on. You need customers, you need clients, you need people who will share their knowledge base with you. And I think that's something that we miss when we have conversations about dreams. Some dreams are just about you. I bought the ticket and I went to Paris. I did that. Other dreams require other people to cooperate with you. And so when you feel discouraged about making progress to something that is a really big part of what would be your best version of yourself, your best life, do you need others to get what you want? Because you can't control others. You can only control yourself. And that means that if you're beating yourself up and your dream requires others for this part of your life, that you should be kinder to yourself. Because the more people it requires, the harder it is to make it move forward. Telling yourself the truth about what you want out of your life allows you to navigate better to how you're going to get there. It literally makes your life easier. Speaking of ways to make your life easier, if you're getting ready to start a podcast and you haven't heard of Anchor, it's the easiest way to get started. It's free. Anchor distributes your podcast for you across multiple platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Their app allows you to edit straight from your phone or computer, and there's no minimum listenership to start earning revenue. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. I personally began to think about the concept of thriving after really grinding hard in my 20s when I started looking for professionals of color who were older than me, people who were further along in their careers, and I was confronted by a very stark truth. They were mostly extremely burnt out, and I found that disturbing. These were folks who were at least 10 years older than me at the time, and they didn't seem like they were thriving. They seemed like they were successful, but they seemed stressed. And in my estimation, and you'll rarely hear me stutter, it was just such a shock to see that these people I respected were not enjoying the things that they worked for. And to me, that's a major sticking point. it's not enough to be successful if you don't have the mental and emotional space to enjoy your success, to thrive in what you have built for yourself. Because it is a monumental piece of work in the current stage of capitalism to lay a foundation that is steady enough to support you and others. That is something that is worth celebrating and worth building on. But the continuous stress disturbed me. And so I started to think deeply, and I have been thinking deeply, and it's been integrated into my practice, about how you change the gear from I'm going to hustle, I'm going to, get through this latest setback is not going to break me, to I woke up and I had coffee and I did not think about work until I logged onto my computer. To go from I check my bank account every day to, I haven't checked my bank account in a month because everything has been automated, and it did not bother me because I am no longer worried that I might be overdrafted because I keep a buffer fund in my checking account and my savings account is fat. That is such a different emotional place. That's a place where you could thrive because you have attention and energy to go towards hobbies. To say, I want to reread this text, this book that I didn't quite understand because when I read it in college, I was trying to get my credits, graduate, and go work so I could stop being broke. Taking the ferocity of that monkey off your back when you always feel broke and just throwing it in the trash or leaving it behind you and not looking back is a beautiful thing that I think more of us should appreciate if we're able to get to that point. And I'll be real with y'all, part of that if is just luck. We don't always have a say in what life does to us, but we do have a say in how we respond. And I am cautiously optimistic about where we are right now in terms of choices for folks who want to live a different life. And I say that because wages are going in the right direction across multiple industries. There is still tens of thousands of dollars of catching up to do before wages actually pay for the current cost of life. But once that increase, I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional about it. That increase in wages is so important because our government does not accurately portray at what point you're in poverty or not. Because poverty, in this professional's opinion, is when you don't have the things that you need. In this year, not being able to afford internet puts you into poverty because you can't access most of the stuff I talk about to my clients every day. So wages going up allows more and more people to get a solid foundation under their feet and keep it there, despite compounding crises. And that means that it's relevant that you start thinking about it as something that is possible for yourself. Because some of you listening today will have never thought beyond survival. Never thought beyond, I have enough left over and I can help out this person and that's good enough for me. And my challenge to you, I am challenging you with love and respect to dream bigger than that. I want you to dream bigger than that. What would be the big thing? The thing that you would do just for you, not for anybody else. And I'll use myself as an example here. For me, the big thing is I'm building myself a library. It is not for charity. It is not for public access. I, young woman who grew up reading way too many 18th century novels, I want a library. I want shelving. I want dramatic windows. And I just want it to be a place to read and read and read. That's a dream just for me. And it's likely very probable because I've done my own math on it. What would be just for you? And can you allow yourself to just dream about it, to put some details on it? Long before you start applying, like it'll cost this much and it'll be this much. Just be like, okay, your library, whatever that is to you, would be blue, purple, green. Why do you want the things that you want? What is it about? If you want, for example, a really bougie, expensive sound system, why? Did you grow up listening to somebody who shared their love of music with you? Is it something that will help you, or is it just for your enjoyment? Joy and putting yourself as a priority. Once you have made your survival the priority and you have succeeded at that, giving yourself a new priority for yourself as you build the other parts of your life that are about other people is important, because it will give you an internal North Star to navigate against, to say, I want to do this thing where I pay off maybe this person's house because I love them and they are my relative. And I also want to do this thing for myself. How can I do both? Is it possible to do both? Can I do this and then 5 years later do that for myself? It'll allow you to have conversations with yourself and hopefully with your financial professional about when you want things. Because when is the question that a lot of folks are uncomfortable with when we start talking about money. When do you want a house? When do you want kids? When do you want to get married? When do you want this huge tattoo sleeve that's going to go from your wrist to your shoulder? I don't care what your goals are. I support them as long as they're financially healthy. What I want for my clients, for my communities, is I want y'all to have options. I don't want you to feel like you always have to choose the cheapest option or the lowest cost option or the option that requires the most labor from you because you're using labor to save on cost. I want you to be honest about what you want, put those stars in your sky, and then figure out how we're going to navigate against those stars. Because the truth of the matter is if you have never treated something as possible, then you have never put energy into making it possible. And it isn't until you take your own dreams seriously about what your best life, about what you would look like thriving in the mirror. It isn't until you make that decision that you can really start to see clearly what options you have for yourself. And I want that for you. I want you to allow yourself to thrive. I want you to understand that it's also not a straight line. I think we feel disappointed when we go through, for example, the last 3 years, because next month is the pandemic parallelogram anniversary. I think we feel disappointed when we get set back. We're like, I was thriving and now I'm back in survival mode. I had these 2 good years and then the pandemic screwed it up. To which I say, it's not a straight line. It's more like a car gear shift. You have to put yourself in the mode for what life is giving you, and life is the road. So sometimes you're in first gear, sometimes you're in second gear. Same kind of concept applies. Your mindsets, your approaches need to be flexible for what is actually happening in reality, especially the reality of your life. And so if you thrive for 2-3 years and you get, boom, setback, this happened, this person, okay, all right. Is your foundation still under your feet? You thrived once, you were successful, you were happy, you can do that again. And the idea that there's going to be fluidity, that it's not an anime arc where the hero wins and everything is happily ever after in a Disney story. There are going to be chapters of your life, and some will be really good. But if you don't give yourself permission to write out and dream good chapters for yourself, then you're kind of sentencing yourself to write meh. Like, it was okay. It was good enough. But I think you deserve more than good enough. I really, really do. I spoke a lot on this episode, and I spoke less directly than I usually do. But I hope that my conversation with you allowed you to shake some thoughts loose in your head. Think about what you really want. What would you look like while you were thriving? And what would it take to get there? This is Samantha Mantra, signing off. I want you to take care, and I want you to enjoy the rest of your payday.